Perfect Beauties. So I wanted to do a video on how to get into a good college. So I know my channel isn't, always about makeup and stuff, but I'm not all about makeup and stuff. So I wanted to tell you guys, for me, I got accepted to, some pretty good schools, and I wanted to share with you guys in terms of colleges, and I wanted to share with you guys, what I did in order to prepare myself to get to those good schools. Meant to brag or any kind of thing like that. If you're going to be offended, please exit out of the video. This is not going to be a typical, super girly kind of video. This is just going to be my experience and me putting on my very professional hat, telling you guys what I did in order to get to where I ended up. Okay, so in order to get into a good college, I think things might have changed, but they're probably still the same. It's a combination of, GPA, class rank, coursework, SAT, ACT, SAT 2 scores, AP scores, and your extracurricular activities. Now, if you want to get into the Harvard, Yales, Princetons of this world, you need to have, I think, a little bit different of a strategy than getting into just, a good public school, like a University of Wisconsin-Madison, University of Virginia, etc. Those are great schools, but it's a different acceptance than getting into like a Stanford, In high school, I was super hardcore, worked very hard. I'm still the same person. Whatever I do, I work very, very hard at whatever I do. But I graduated, I think I was number 2 or number 4 in my class out of 820 kids. So it was, pretty much up there. My grades were very good. My SAT scores were, I don't really exactly remember what they were, but they were pretty much average for what people got accepted into those schools did. And my AP scores, I had a lot of good AP scores. I had a lot of 5s on AP tests, and I think I had 12 subject tests with scores of 5. I don't know, I did really well on AP tests. I think, if you really want to get into a really good school, you have to really think of what makes you stand out from the crowd. Now, if you're an Asian male or an Asian woman and you want to get into Harvard and you have like all the perfect test scores and perfect GPA and all that, it's going to be pretty hard to stand out because you're like every other person out there. Like, just to be completely honest, like, you're going to be every other person out there. So you really have to figure out, what makes you unique, because Harvard or like a Northwestern or whatever, they want to build a student body that is unique. Like, they don't want everyone to be a cookie cut robot person. And I think this goes to the same strategy when applying to any kind of graduate program or business school or whatever. Like, you definitely want something that makes you stand out. So, figure out what your passion is. If you're only like a sophomore or freshman in high school, you definitely have time to figure out what that passion is and, devote time to pursuing that passion. If you're a parent of a student who's going into college, really, when they're at a young age, try to figure out what their passion is, because when they get into high school, they're probably not going to have time with all their extracurriculars, AP classes, tutoring stuff. They're not going to have time to figure out what their passion is. So if you figure out young and they sustain it up until they get into, up until the college application process, they're going to be in a much, standing out, I guess, ovation than when they're at high school. But you shouldn't just pursue a passion just to get into college. You should figure out what that is and pursue it and make sure you can communicate that in your application process. But don't just like pick up like oboe playing if you have no passion for playing the oboe, because it will show. So, sticking out, passions, whatever, that really is not just simply volunteering at the library. That is not simply volunteering at a hospital. Anyone can write that stuff down, and that doesn't make you stand out, right? Anyone can volunteer at a hospital. Really, what makes you stand out is winning awards, like the Intel Science Award, your National Spelling Bee Award. I don't know what awards are, but I'm sure there's a lot of great different awards, maybe violinist contest awards, just awards that make you stand out, because when you win an award, it really says you are better than anyone else who competed in that competition, which definitely makes you stand out. But it doesn't always have to be awards. It could be the impact you make. Like, some people, they love recycling or they love baking or whatever, and so they start their own businesses in high school, and they start their own businesses. They say how much revenue they've generated, put that on their college application form, and that makes them stand out. Pursuing your passions, doing something like that makes you stand out. What makes you stand out, and have that message completely consistent on whatever you do. So have, if you can have your guidance counselors, I don't want to sound like this is like you're manipulating the system, because if it is your passion, then it will kind of just appear like consistently through all forms of your application. But your guidance counselors will mention it, your teacher recommendations will mention it, you know, your essay will touch upon it, you know, short answers will touch upon it, all that. Like, that is what that consistency of, and your awards and your extracurriculars and all that will like mention it. And that is what's going to make you stand out. So to start children's centers, I wanted to be a doctor, and I wanted to develop children's centers in countries overseas, like almost like orphanages or like schools. And I kind of made that message consistent, and I think my extracurriculars has something to do with that. I don't exactly remember what my extracurriculars were, but I definitely made that message consistent upon my application process. And, you know, I've always been someone who, what I want to do with my life, I don't want to just make a lot of money. I don't want to just live in a nice looking house and drive a S-Class Mercedes. You know, I want to do something with my life that impacts other people. You know, right now it's kind of shifted onto this whole Perfect Beauty and YouTube thing, but it's still kind of that same vision and message that I have. And so when I was younger, I wanted to, I watched a lot of Oprah. When I was younger, and I still watch a lot of Oprah, and I just remember there's this doctor on Oprah, and she did that surgery that helps, that like seals up the bladder of young women who have babies really early, because like when you have a baby when you're too young, your bladder like ruptures and then you start peeing uncontrollably. And she like sewed up those bladders. She like clinics and stuff, and she sewed up those bladders. And she said something like, you know, I will not be here in 10 or 20 years to do this. We need to find the next person who can do this. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. Like, I want to be a gynecologist and do that. So I guess that was like my consistent message of what I wanted to do with my life, my extracurriculars, my hobbies, and blah, blah, blah. Showed all that, right? And that, I think, is what got me into Duke and what got me into the schools I got accepted to, because I was very passionate about that kind of stuff. And it's a very genuine passion. You know, I wanted to do that. Now I realize that, you know, being a doctor is probably not suited for who I am, but I still want to be able to empower people. You know, right now it's just in a way that is more accessible and easier for me in my shoes to do it than, you know, to go into a third world country and to, you know, start my own clinic and do all that kind of stuff. But I'm very supportive of people who are doing that, and hopefully I will become rich enough in order to support those programs out there like that. But yeah, just really kind of figure out what your passion is and make sure to be able to communicate that. I can't stress how important that was. So yeah, I hope this helps. I don't really know who's watching this. It might be parents, it might be, you know, high school students, college students, whatever. But I hope this helps in terms of really refining your college application process. As for the grades and SAT scores, you know, as long as you're in the middle range of like whatever schools you want to, like let's say you want to get into Harvard, as long as you're in their range. I think their average SAT score is like probably like a 2250 out of 2400, or like a 2300. I mean, it's still really, really, really high, but as long as you make it, you know, in that average, just don't worry about your SAT scores and stuff. Like, focus in on your application essays, really making sure you're able to communicate whatever passion it is you want and why you want to do it. I think is really important. It's not just what you want to do at Harvard or, you know, Harvard or UPenn or Stanford. It's why you want to do it. So make sure you're able to communicate that clearly through your essays and stuff. So yeah, I hope this helps for you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. And let me know if you want me to do more serious videos like these, or if you just still want me to do like Miley Cyrus inspired makeup tutorials or whatever it is you want me to do. I'll see you guys later. Bye!